On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Oracle by Kitty. Kitty. Meow, 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 meow. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters, can't you tell? Because we always talk like this.
That's right.
Hello. We're professional broadcasters, and we like metal.
I like doing this at the drive-thru. Yes, good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Wendy's cashier.
Yes, I'll take the Baconator.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Before we can finish? Yeah, we talk for a living. Before we finish introducing ourselves, I do have to say there was a time where I went through the Wendy's drive-thru and at the prodding of my friends, ordered my food as Hank Hill. So that was a fun night. In any case, I already said we're two professional broadcasters, and we like metal, and we like to talk about it.
Sure.
That's partially what we do here, other than just kind of fuck around.
Yeah.
So if you're up for that sort of thing, you'll probably have a good time. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Probably taking the day off for work tomorrow.
You got a sick child.
I got a sick child. Well, he's got impetigo, which yeah.
What does it do? You said it's a skin condition, but what does it like? What happens? Just very itchy?
Well, no, okay. He had a pimple on his nose, and then he got a second pimple, and then it sort of crusted over, and it's like it's eating his skin. So yeah, so he's got to take some antibiotics and
Nasty.
Yeah, very nasty. Yeah,
very nasty. Right.
So yeah, so don't try not to like touch me.
Okay.
Much all, because otherwise, maybe it's on me now.
Oh God. You just rub your hands all over the table. Rub your hands all over the sacred podcast table.
The sacred podcast table.
That has had so much booze spilled on it.
There's nothing can live. No microbes can live on this table.
There's so much residual alcohol on this table. On the other hand, there's also a lot of residual yeast. So,
Residual yeast.
Yep. Is that a band name?
I don't know. Maybe.
What's up? We're Residual Yeast. It's been a long last 7 days. This week itself has not been long, but the last 7 days in total for me has been.
Why is that?
I was operating boards for a basketball game for 3 of those days.
Right.
Which is not difficult.
No.
It is not difficult. It is just time consuming. And because of the nature of basketball games and because we play ads every time a timeout is called,
sure.
If you're operating the board and the person responsible for making sure those ads play, you cannot get up.
No.
You cannot get up and leave the board really for a moment. I got up and ran to turn off the television one of those days because it was distracting me.
Oh, really?
Like I cannot when I'm operating the board, I can't have people talking to me. I can't have anything. I'll look down at my phone on occasion because that's occupying my eyes.
Sure.
And mostly what I need is my ears to be listening for, and there's a timeout. Going to be calling at the 30-second timeout. We'll be back.
You got to hit the button and pat him down, and
yeah, I got to hit the button and do that. But I can't have shit occupying my ears.
Okay.
Because I need to be listening, and I suffer very easily from like sensory overload. That was a big problem at the fair last year. Is there's so much noise, there's so much sound, and I'm there trying to listen to my radio and keep my show going. And I have a little bit of trouble with that.
Sure.
I have to. I will plug headphones into the radio, so I'm just listening to just the radio feed itself, and that's it. Because otherwise, I'll miss cues because I can't hear them because I'm getting distracted by all the random shit that's happening. So yeah, it's I kind of sit and am nervous for 3 hours during those. I'm just sit and I'm nervous, and I do a lot of deep breathing. Just I just fold my hands, in front of my chest, and just.
I feel like there's maybe some sort of medication that could help you. I feel it's possible maybe if you saw a physician and then said, hey, this is what it's like to be me, they'd be like, oh, Christ, really?
I've been incredibly anxious since I was 13 years old. Oh, well, we have something to help with that. I think part of it was just jitters of like, oh, I haven't done this before. I don't know how it's going to go. And the expectation of, oh, you're going to fuck everything up because you're you. Which the very first day, I kind of fucked some shit up the first hour, but very quickly got in the hang of it. And it's easy as anything else, but there's still some lingering anxiety of like, okay, we have to make sure all of these ads play because otherwise we owe people money.
Sure. The thing is, though, is that it's really kind of out of your hands when you think about them. You can only play spots when it's time to play spots. And
it's really it's up to the coaches of the basketball teams.
Yes,
calling enough timeouts, and it was sort of a somewhat lower stakes women's regional tournament, and a lot of the games were kind of curb stomps.
Yeah.
And I feel like when that happens, when games are not super close and really contested, coaches don't bother calling timeouts.
Sure,
why do they need to call a timeout? They're doing fine.
We're down by 40.
Yeah, it's either we're up by 40 or we're down by 40. In both cases, why the fuck bother calling a timeout? So a lot of the games were not very close. And I think once we get into some of the bigger regional tournaments, that where the games are going to probably be a little closer, a little bit more exciting. It'll maybe be an easier time as far as making sure we clear spots, because that's my main thing, is making sure we get all those spots cleared, because I don't want to get in trouble for that.
And you can't bring yourself to lie about it.
Yeah.
No.
I can't. That's not me, man.
Did they all play? Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. No, they didn't. You marked all of them off. Fuck, I forgot.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
I forgot I was going to lie about this.
Throw a smoke bomb and disappear.
Cloud of bats.
Where'd Kale go?
Turns out Kale's a vampire all along. If I was a vampire, that would be what I use that power for. It's not to, move around unseen as a cloud of bats. No, it's just to escape awkward situations. I'm just like, oh, I'm really uncomfortable. I'm going to turn into a cloud of bats and get the fuck out of here, because this situation is too much for me right now. I'm going to go home and pet my cat and sit on my couch. That's what I would use that for.
Blah, I'm here to suck your blood. I have diarrhea.
Speaking of which, that was a problem that I had on Saturday morning.
Oh, no.
So the thing is, and the other guy who was operating the boards also had that problem.
That's fun.
So we were both like, okay, let's get all of this out of our system before we have to sit behind a board for 3 hours.
You can always just bring a bucket.
And that's what we joked about when I got there. It was just like, yeah, we just need to bring a chamber pot and just set that underneath us. Because you could bring a bottle. You could bring a bottle to pee into. Shitting is a little bit more complicated, ain't it?
A little more. I mean, it's a more involved.
It's a little bit more
more intrusive.
Yeah, it's not the sort of thing you want to do in a place where people work.
Right. Coming in the next day, man, what's that smell in here?
It really smells like shit.
The hell?
Well, you see, it's a long story, and it begins and ends with Taco John's. Which brings me to my next subject. I got free tacos today.
Yeah,
You're getting free tacos tomorrow.
No, I'm not.
Oh, because you're gonna be home with your sick boy.
Yeah, he's got impetigo. He's got a little thing on his nose, all scabby and
Wait a minute.
What?
Does that mean, since they're probably ordering 4 tacos, that I get more free tacos.
Potentially, you might be sitting in with the other dude you were talking about.
Yeah,
and just
eating free tacos.
Nothing wrong with that.
More free. I'll be an old hand at talking about those tacos on the air, because that's what we did. Taco John's gave us tacos to be like, hey, talk about these. It's a new menu item. Eat them, talk about them, and that's what we did. I got to eat 2 of them. They're 9-inch tacos.
You put 9 inches in your face.
I put 9 inches straight down my throat.
What?
It was remarkably easy.
Well, the guy's got to earn a living.
You know, I've had some practice at this, though.
Yeah, well, you know, some people take out loans for college.
Yeah, other people. You know, I go to. You know, when I need to when I need 9 inches of hot meat. I just go to a hole in the wall.
Sure.
And it slides right through. Take it in my hands, and then I put it in my mouth.
There you go. Hi, Mrs. Borner. How you doing?
Is that the worst? Is that the worst bit we've done?
It might be. I don't know.
Might be.
When you say
bit.
We, I don't know. I think that ball sort of landed flatly in your court.
Yeah, that was mostly me. Look, the hole in the wall is that's the drive-through window.
Exactly.
That's what I was talking about. The drive-through window.
Exactly.
It's a hole in a wall.
And they hand you the 9 inches.
There's hot meat in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hot spicy meat.
Hot spicy meat. But yeah, it was. They were tacos.
Yeah.
They were fine. There was nothing wrong with them. There was too much tomato. There was something wrong with them. There was too much tomato.
You don't like tomato on a taco?
I don't generally like tomato on anything.
Okay.
But in a taco or in a burrito, it's fine as long as there's not too much. A little bit here and there. There was a lot of tomato chunks in that, and it was too much. I didn't want nearly that much. I could have done with about 50% less.
50% less chunks. Yeah,
less chunks.
Plus, I'm less chunks.
And the thing is because it's a fast food taco. Half of the chunks that were already there fell out before I even started eating it.
Of course, I mean the whole concept is that it's a longer and shorter taco.
Yeah, it's longer. It's not as tall.
Not as tall,
and a lot of the ingredients fall out.
Sure,
because why not?
It's a taco.
It's a taco. That was the thing. It was a taco. There was steak. There was spicy ground beef. There was grilled chicken. They were tacos. But you can't say that when you're being paid to talk about the tacos.
Right, because they're a client and they want you to talk it up. You want you, hey, talk about how much you love this.
So that's what we did.
So that's what you did. And, you know,
sometimes when you're a broadcaster, you must lie. For money.
For money. Well,
what is in other situations called a bribe. Sort of.
Sort of. You know,
it depends on the context.
Because we used to have a different Mexican experience eating the food on the air, and I would do that with the other dude, Quinn.
Yeah.
We would eat the Mexican food which is awesome from this other Mexican place, but it was all just coated in cheese. So that's 100% Quinn lying through his teeth.
Lying his ass off.
Yeah.
Because he's lactose intolerant.
Severely lactose intolerant.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, so of course I'm walking out of there bloated because I ate everything. And, he's like, I had some of the beef. It was tasty, but...
See, and the promise of the 9-inch taco, right, is that it is more taco. Because the standard taco you get from any fast food restaurant that sells tacos is tiny. It's a taco for a baby. Like my nephews could eat that taco and not be full. Much less myself, a grown-ass man who can eat lots of food. So the promise of the 9-inch taco is... This will fulfill you. It didn't. I ate both those fuckers. We had 4 of them. I ate 2 of them. Kelly gave one of hers away. I ate both them fuckers, and I was after 2. I was satisfied. I would not have been satisfied after 1. So
there you go.
Lies. It's all horrid lies.
No, it's not completely because they are They're the
they are tacos.
Yeah.
They are indeed, as the tagline says, tacos.
Tacos.
They have a hard shell. There is meat. There is cheese. There is sauce.
Some lettuce
and some lettuce and some tomato. Some sour cream.
Hard to go wrong there.
It is a taco. I'm sure someone has fucked up a taco, right?
It has to have happened at some point.
Like really fucked up a taco. Like you can, of course, you can undercook the meat.
Sure.
There's a million simple ways to go wrong, but like there are places you can go where everything is adequate and edible, and it won't give you food poisoning, but it is not good. It has been fucked up.
Sure.
AKA the burger at Kroll's Diner.
Ooh, now you're getting personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this. But
yeah. It was an adequate burger, but it wasn't. It was nothing you'd order again.
It fulfilled the basic promise of a cheeseburger with bacon on it. There was ground beef formed into a patty. There was cheese placed atop it. There was
a bun.
Strips of bacon. There were bun. And there was lettuce and pickles. There was also tomato, which I took off,
of course.
And it was extremely, extremely bland. The bacon added nothing except texture.
Bland bacon?
The bacon was bland.
That's weird.
That happens sometimes with like burger bacon. The way some restaurants do burger bacon is it's kind of thick slabs that don't seem to have a lot of flavor for some reason.
Sure.
Like where it's bacon where it is 90% meat and only 10% fat. So like it's like jerky. Like someone put strips of jerky on my burger.
I'm thinking about how that would be good. Yeah,
I said that.
Yeah,
I said that, and then I went,
I don't know. Yeah, could you put Slim Jims on a burger? I wonder
why Slim Jims. If you're putting it on a burger, like...
Could you make a Slim Jim burger?
You could. You're a goddamn adult. You can do whatever you want.
Sure.
If you want to put Slim Jims on a burger, go ahead. What I would do, I would probably put like some of my dad's venison jerky on a burger.
Sure, that'd be great.
That would probably be pretty fucking good.
I feel if I made a burger, like a grill it in my backyard and I put Slim Jims on it and I brought it in for the kids, they'd be like, yeah, we knew this day was coming.
He's finally lost it.
He's
finally given up.
It's time to get the wagon here.
Get your bindle out. We're going on a journey. Something occurred to me just now that I've never had a venison burger.
You've never had a venison burger?
I've never had a venison burger.
I've had that. I enjoy that.
I don't believe I've had a venison steak either.
How about like a buffalo burger? Have you had
I have had a buffalo burger. They're very good.
Yes.
It's a bit lean. But, nothing a little bit of seasoning can't fix.
You never see a fat buffalo.
Yeah, not generally. No.
No.
I've not had a beefalo burger.
Those are
probably
good.
I've not had that. The whole idea of it is that it is good but leaner, and also the cattle themselves are hardier.
Sure.
So it's a win-win-win-win. Win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
Okay.
All right. So, anything else you can think of to talk about?
Anything else that's happened? Oh, I've been watching a Netflix series about the events of 1453. Ottoman. It's called
Ottomans.
It's actually, I'm enjoying it.
About a big Hungarian guy who made some big fucking cannons.
yeah, for the Turks and
big fucking cannons because the goddamn Catholics couldn't pay for it.
Sure.
I don't know why I chose to say Catholics instead of Byzantines.
Well, they were Catholics.
They were Catholics.
Yeah.
But anyway, and yeah, you've said that you like that. You like the show.
I'm enjoying the show.
It's good.
Yeah, it's talking about strategies of war and all the personal issues and what exactly happened historically.
I've started watching Ken Burns' World War II documentary called The War.
Sure.
I mean, it's Ken Burns. It's well done. I don't feel compelled to finish it or keep watching it.
Really?
It's narrated by Keith David, who has a lovely, amazing voice.
Sure.
And I love him and everything he's been in. But it's just like, I'm not as interested. Partially because it focuses down on the American experience of it. It is very focused on the American experience of it, which I feel like is something I've grown up with that. That's so much of what we're taught in school, and it's like I've grown up with the American experience of World War II. I feel like I have a good understanding of what that is. They personalize it with interviews from specific soldiers and newspaper articles and stuff like that from towns, like getting a read on what morale was like in these 4 different towns in the U.S. throughout the war, and the families of the soldiers that were over there and that sort of thing. That is interesting to me, and I think that's one of the more compelling parts of the documentary. But it really, what it made me want to do is watch the Pacific. Because the first episode is mostly about the early Pacific campaign, because that's really the first campaign we launched in World War II.
Right.
And watching some of that was like, it's been a little while since I've watched the Pacific, and that's the first couple episodes is Guadalcanal, so maybe I'll go watch that for some compelling historical drama.
Sure, so you jumped ship. You went on to a different thing.
I did not. I haven't started.
You haven't done it yet, okay.
But I might continue.
Incidentally, the Ottoman show is narrated by Tywin Lannister. So,
okay. Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty
fucking
awesome.
Charles Dance.
Indeed.
Oh, I could listen to Charles Dance talk about anything.
Yeah.
His voice is wonderful. What else am I doing? Oh, this weekend I am departing for Fargo.
Sure.
For a weekend retreat with the boys.
You can play some D&D and
to play some Dungeons and Dragons, and some other people are probably going to play Magic the Gathering. I'm probably going to sit and watch them.
Sure.
Just because I don't like being in new situations where people have to explain rules to me.
Right.
If I'm just here casually having fun and they're like, "Hey, play this with us. These are all the rules. There are a million of them. It's okay. You'll pick it up once you get started."
You don't want to do that.
I never do.
No.
I first of all, I don't want to do that. Mostly because every time I've said yes, it never works.
Really?
They're like, "You'll pick it up as you go on."
Nope.
No, I won't. No, I won't. I'm not going to learn any of these.
Because you're so easily distracted.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are other things I just want to be sitting and vibing. I don't want to be learning new rules. The comfort of Dungeons and Dragons is that I know the rules, so I don't have to worry about it.
That worries me about Magic the Gathering too. I got my first Magic the Gathering cards back in 1995. And I have thousands of dollars for that shit sitting in my bedroom.
Yep.
And the problem is I'd like to go maybe play with the new people, the young people who are playing now,
But the game is 15 years removed from the last time you touched it.
Exactly, and there are 3 billion other rules now, 3 different strategies and mechanics and different things in there that I don't. What the hell did you just do?
I have no idea what any of this means.
Yes, and my deck, is inadequate entirely.
Yes, unless you'd have to look through and see if there is some old card that you have that maybe is super useful now. I don't know.
Yeah, there are a few.
There are a couple you got in there. You got a couple cards that are worth a little bit, don't you?
I do. I have, like I say, some of the cards I put on the app that I have for it. It's a little over $700 just those cards.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing about Magic the Gathering or even Warhammer stuff is the old things. Yeah, it is an investment that some of it might pay off, some of it might not.
Right.
But some of it could be worth a lot of money. There are old Warhammer minis that go for a while, or just painted armies that you can sell for a really decent chunk of change and that sort of thing. None of my D&D stuff is going to have resale value because
you don't have to worry about that.
5th edition is the most popular edition of Dungeons and Dragons there has ever been. There's 1 million copies of every one of the books I own. None of the minis I have, I imagine, are going to be collectible at all because they're all mass produced. So it's like D&D stuff. Unless it's old, like this is Gary Gygax's binder, it's not worth shit.
It has his germs on it.
Yeah, unless it was touched by Lord Gygax, it's not really worth much.
Yeah, see, and I know more about 2nd edition than I do any of the other editions.
5th edition is pretty easy to pick up. Far easier than I think. I think you would have an easier time jumping from second edition into fifth edition,
right,
then I would have jumping from fifth edition into third edition.
Sure. Or second edition.
Yeah, and we don't talk about fourth edition. Fourth edition, I think the rules are genuinely very dissimilar. I think the problem I would have with third is that they are similar enough in many ways, but also slightly different in very crucial ways.
Sure.
That I would have a difficult time of it.
Yeah, I have characters rolled up in a notebook somewhere on my bookshelf that have Thaco, that have
yeah. And that is kind of, I've never really tried to sit down and figure out how it works, but like just like a brief summary of it, every time I read it, I'm just like, what?
Yeah, it's overcomplicated.
Instead of like fifth edition, you roll one dice.
Right.
And you have that number, and then you add maybe 2 or 3 other numbers to it, usually just one, and there's your roll. And if you're attacking somebody, you better hope you rolled higher than this other number that's just on their sheet. You don't have to sit and figure out what their armor class would be at this specific moment. It's always the same.
I rolled this, so it's a +2 sword, so I got
extra that.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Easy.
What happened? Yeah.
He died. You fucking killed the goblin. Congratulations. I hope you feel good. Do you feel big and strong? You killed that little creature?
I want you to DM like that at some point. I want you to go, oh, big man over there. Yeah, okay.
I bet you feel good killing that poor defenseless creature.
Holier than thou, Mr. Paladin, killing the poor goblin.
He was attacking me with a scimitar. Yeah, but he wasn't going to actually kill you. It's not his fault. It's society's fault. Why don't you address the real problem, which is the way humans in this setting treat goblins? But no, you're just going on a killing spree for money.
Everybody.
Guaranteed to be everyone's favorite dungeon master. The guy who does that.
Who just shames everybody.
Who just shames everyone about everything they do. Because if you think about it, a lot of the things that even the most heroic of Dungeons and Dragons parties do, the word murder hobo exists for a reason. You're people that are usually homeless, roving around, killing things for money.
Murder hobo.
Like it's very easy to get judgmental on them, but that's fantasy.
Sure.
So
you would ruin the game.
You'd ruin the game. Yeah. Okay. We kind of spun some yarns there. So it's February. It's female February.
Female February.
Just a time of the year where we decide to really dig into metal and find metal that's made by ladies. And the thing about Kitty, I keep wanting to call them Kitten.
No, it's Kitty.
When I say Kitty, all I can picture is Kitty Foreman from that 70s show.
Yeah, no, she's not in the band.
That would be funny.
That would be funny.
No, they are a Canadian extreme metal, alternative metal.
Sort of new metal.
Sort of. Not really this album, but the first album was more new metal. And this is, I think, the first time in Female February or otherwise that it's actually an all-female band, too.
Yes.
Like Ginger, Tatiana's the only woman. She's the lead singer and front woman of the band, but and sort of the same deal with like Arch Enemy and other bands like that are famous.
Snow White we talked about last year.
Bands that are kind of famous for having female front women, famous for having female front women. Yeah, that's female front women,
front ladies. Yeah,
for maximum redundancy. But no, this is an all-ladies band.
It is.
Founded in 1997. They're from London, Ontario.
Yes.
Which is also, by the way, why the beer we're drinking tonight is Moosehead Canadian Lager. And there's a big old picture of a moose on there.
That's adorable, the moose. And it's in a green bottle.
It's in a green bottle. Because, this was just mostly a coincidence, the green bottle. I was reading about absinthe earlier today. And then when I was at the liquor store, I was like, I wonder if they have absinthe. They didn't.
No.
None of the stores in Minot are goth enough to have absinthe.
What would a goth liquor store be like?
It's just absinthe.
Just absinthe. Yeah.
It's just absinthe.
Absinthe and sadness. That's all we offer here.
Tears.
Yeah.
Probably like lots of red drink, like different kinds of red drinks. Lots of wine.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a dumb tangent. So they started. They got together in 1997. Yes. They were all in high school, I think, when they started the band. I believe I saw mentioned that they were 14 when they started writing a lot of the material that ended up in their first album that came out in 2000, or was it 99?
99. It was in the 90s.
Yeah.
It had to have been in the 90s.
Late 90s at the very least. And the album kind of exploded. It sold, I think, 600,000 copies, something like that, which was just kind of a crazy amount for, even for new metal bands at the time.
Yes.
And, it was very,
very
it was
2000.
popular. It was 2000.
It was 2000.
Okay. And after that album came out and they did their initial touring and that sort of thing in support of that album, they kind of started writing again. And
they got a little heavier.
Yeah, they got a little heavier because this was the first time since they started the band that they actually started writing material again. And I read from an interview that when they made their first album, they were listening to a lot of Nirvana and Soundgarden and some lighter metal acts, and then by the time they made their second album, they were listening to Cannibal Corpse, and that sort of thing, and so that had an influence and led to a darker, heavier album, and that's what Oracle is. It's their second album,
their sophomore album.
Sophomore, okay, okay, Jim. That's the way he says it.
It's their 5'9" sophomore. Sophomore, yeah.
Yes.
3 syllables.
3 syllables, very important. But I lost my place.
Sorry, I derailed you.
It's okay. It's all right. The train was never really on the rails. It was just kind of going straight by accident. But this is a heavier album than previously.
Indeed.
And according to you, because I didn't listen to Spit, which is the name
it's
of the
hard
first
to listen
album.
to. I mean, it's hard, but it's not hard to listen to. Like, that sucks. No, it's a great album, but it's hard to find.
All over. Oh, it's hard to. It's hard on Spotify.
Is it on Spotify?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't find it. I use a different music.
Yeah. No, their stuff is on Spotify.
But this was on. Everything but Spit was on there.
On Amazon.
On Amazon, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've managed to find it on Spotify.
Really?
So yeah, their work is available, and they're still around. They released a live album a couple years ago. In 2018, they did a live album of them performing, I think, a fair number of older songs. The sound of this album reminded me a lot of. I mean, it's very alternative metal.
Yes,
the sound is very alt metal, and
they get experimental,
and it does get a little experimental here and there. It reminded me a lot of like, kind of a bit slower, but the tone reminded me of old Killswitch Engage. Like their first 2 albums from Killswitch Engage kind of reminded me of that, and other like early to like late 90s to early 2000s metalcore. That's also not Converge, because Converge was doing their own. Like Jane Doe came out the same year as this album, and they could not sound more different. But like it reminded me a little bit that maybe it might have even been the guitar tone felt similar to me. But like Alive or Just Breathing was also 2001. I think it might have been 2002 actually, but it reminded me of that in a way. Just kind of, this is a pretty grungy album, I'd say. Not grunge as in the genre, but grunge as in
dirty, kind of grimy
feeling. It's kind of grimy. It's kind of dirty. It feels kind of like a late 90s album. And I heard on a couple songs, especially whenever clean vocals come in, because most of the vocals on here are screamed vocals.
Right.
When the clean vocals come in, that's really where I got the most grunge, the genre influence. Like there was parts where I was like, oh, this kind of sounds like Nirvana a little bit in a weird sort of way. Like it feels more like grunge to me there. And then it goes back to heavy riffing. Heavy riffing. Is that it's like heavy petting, but
heavy riffing. I think that's a compilation CD. That's what that is.
Heavy riffing. As long as it's not heavy yiffing, which is a different thing. Don't look that up.
Don't go to Google right now and look up heavy yiffing.
Don't do that.
No.
If you value your sanity. Oh God. I've spent too much time on the internet.
No, we all have.
Yeah.
I think the internet has ruined
Internet,
humanity.
yeah, the internet is the most wonderful thing, the greatest invention
that could have ever ruined humanity.
And the only thing.
Yeah.
It's there are many things that could have ruined the human race, but I think when it comes down to it, it was always going to be the internet.
Fuck you, Al Gore.
How it's all his fault
for inventing the internet.
He shouldn't have invented the internet. But if he hadn't invented the internet, I couldn't have listened to Oracle.
Sure.
I would have had to go find a physical copy of it somewhere in Minot, North Dakota.
It would have been like my entire youth and early 20s. And
how did you make it?
Well, it was a network. It was a network thing. It was a personal. You had to actually be IRL with people. And hey, I got this CD. I bought it at the Electric Fetus. And you want a copy of it? Yeah, I do.
Unimaginable.
Yeah, crazy.
Electric Fetus is in Minneapolis, isn't it?
Yes, and I think there's also one in St. Cloud.
Okay, yeah.
There's two in Minneapolis and one in St. Cloud.
Record stores in the Twin Cities.
Yeah,
and surrounding area.
Also a head shop.
What?
Also a head shop.
What's a head shop?
What's a head shop?
I don't know what a head shop is.
It's where you go in and they have incense and they have bongs and they have rolling papers and they have.
There's paraphernalia.
Paraphernalia.
That is totally not for weed.
No, it's for tobacco.
Absolutely for tobacco use only.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bong you got me for
for Christmas.
I mean, the bong you didn't specifically get me that for Christmas.
But
you got whoever got it.
I actually did yelp a little bit of a happy cheer when I was, he's getting the bong.
Of course he is.
Kill, yay!
Okay, yeah, I guess. So that would make like our record store also a little bit of a head shop.
A little bit.
They have incense and they have some pipes and
they
shit.
do. And we have another actual head shop here
yes,
as well.
we have a dedicated one.
Yes.
For all of your tobacco smoking needs.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So tell me a little bit about your like how you got introduced to Kitty, like what was going on in the world of OJ when you started listening to Kitty.
Let's see, it was just after I cut my hair, I believe.
Like Samson.
Yeah, like Samson, and it didn't take away because I was weak before.
Yeah,
and then I was kind of a pussy afterwards as well.
You felt slightly stronger because you didn't have all that hair wearing your head down,
which is weird. When you get like all that hair taken off, it feels like your head, your neck muscles
floating.
I feel like I could headbutt a rhino. This is great.
Now imagine if you had done as much windmilling as Corpse Grinder.
Yeah, oh sure.
You end up with Corey Taylor neck, where you've got this really weird thick neck that does not have the appropriate shoulder structure to sit on.
Right.
Because he has like very narrow shoulders and an extremely thick neck. That's the same width as his head.
Odds are with me it would have just been spinal surgery. That's what it would have ended up in.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, it was then, and I was riding around with some friends, and several times I were going over to, actually it was an ex's house I went to, which we just became friends afterwards. One of those rare situations where
sometimes it happens.
Sometimes happens. And listening to what the fuck is this? This is great. It's Kitty.
Kitty. What did you think of the name?
I thought that's great. If you're gonna have a metal band, something sweet like Kitty is perfect.
And that's, I think, what they said. When I was reading their Wikipedia page, they said, "Yeah, we just chose it because it's kind of subversive is kind of the opposite of what people would think when they hear this sort of crazy, weird sound. And yeah, I think it works. It's like naming, like I want to start a grindcore band called Fluffball or something.
Fluffball, Sweetums.
Yeah. Hey, Sweetums.
That's the big Muppet from, the giant Muppet that's the tallest one with the giant nose. He looks like a monster.
I think so.
Very shaggy. I'm sure you've seen.
Yes.
His name is Sweetums.
Sweetums. Could call it that. And then have it be like Party Cannon, where the logo is in big, puffy letters.
Sure.
To really stand out on any bill.
And just be the grimiest,
grossest, nastiest grindcore anyone's ever listened to.
Like that one band we were listening to earlier today. Zavleg.
I could not even begin to tell you what the full acronym stands for. But
it's a long, ridiculous name.
A long, ridiculous, disgusting name that they turn into an extremely long acronym that is then translated onto a 2D platform as the most indiscernible band logo anyone has ever made.
Yeah, it looks like maybe leather that was left out in the sun.
It's the back of the chair right where someone's shoulder blades sit and kind of rub the most.
Sure, for many years.
And
that's what's left.
And it's just the cracked, or it is a section of the desert floor at a week after a rainstorm when all the clay is cracked and is in many different pieces. And then they turned the saturation, all the way down and put it in black and white. And there we go.
And that's their logo.
It's their logo. They're from South Africa. They've made 2 albums called Gore. And
Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah, and it's just the most disgusting, like grindcore, slamcore, whatever you want to call it. I haven't really given them a proper listen just because they're so much of a meme that it's kind of like, do I care about them? Not really. No. But I'd never heard of Kitty before.
Right, I had. And I'd listened to this before. I'd listened to the first album more, but...
you weren't aware that it was more available.
I wasn't aware it was more available because I couldn't find them. Like, well, I want to listen to this band for the podcast, and I've enjoyed their music, and so we'll listen to this one. We'll listen to Oracle. Their sophomore album. Yeah.
Oracle.
Not to be confused with Horacle.
Is that a thing?
That's an album by In Flames.
I see.
En Flambe.
I see. En Flambe?
En Flambe.
En Flambe. Interesting. So I was... important question. Does it slap?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it does.
I think it slaps. Not all the time.
No, not all the time. Like the final song on this.
The final song is basically a doom metal song.
Yeah, just sludge for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it is 10 minutes of sludge.
Yeah,
and I think actually that's my favorite one.
Yeah,
just because it's so different. It comes out of nowhere. It's like, what the? Because I was looking at the songs, it's like, wait, 10 minutes? What?
Yeah.
And I get to it, and it's like, okay, all right. I see what you're doing. I see you over there.
So you'd say that's your favorite song?
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But
the score.
I was looking at the score on the Wikipedia page. It had a Metacritic score 56.
56, really?
Yeah. Barely positive. It's like I was surprised by that because
this was a good album. I enjoyed this.
I think this is fine. I enjoyed this album. It's not my favorite thing ever, but I don't think it's worthy of a 56 from Metacritic.
That's weird.
I was looking at the specific reviews that were below it, and they were kind of all over the place. So I think this was something of a divisive album.
Sure.
I think this was either people loved it or they hated it, and the average of when people either love or hate something,
you get about 50-50.
You get about 50-50. Yeah. Like I don't know what Death Stranding's Metacritic score is, but it's probably kind of close to that.
I want to play that game.
Yeah, so do I. I haven't brought myself to do it yet.
Right.
But I'll get there someday.
My daughter played it.
Death. Your which one?
The 24-year-old.
Your oldest.
Yeah.
She played. What did she think of Death Stranding?
It's a lot of walking and it's a lot of weird.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Everything I've heard about Death Stranding sounds about right.
Yep.
You walk around and there's a lot of weird shit.
Yeah.
And Norman Reedus is there, and if you look at his crotch too much, he'll get mad at you.
Really?
Punch the You can in his like room. You can like there's a sort of a free camera, and you can look around with like this camera drone, and if you zoom in on his crotch, he will like get bashful at first, and then he'll be like, "Hey, quit it," and then he'll flip off the camera, and then if you keep doing it, he will punch the little drone that you're piloting as the camera.
And they had to do that in studio.
Yeah. Hideo Kojima made his good friend Norman Reedus act that out.
That's
live
great.
In person, wearing a suit covered in balls. With a big fucking thing attached to his head.
Sure.
To read his facial movements. What a timeline we live in. Or Hideo Kojima, maker of weird, strange games, and Norman Reedus, star of Zombie Show and Boondock Saints. It's The Walking Dead. I know it's The Walking Dead.
Yeah, the Zombie Show.
I have 3 fucking graphic novel compilations sitting underneath my computer monitor.
But you're still calling it Zombie Show.
Zombie Show. It's Zombie Show. Everyone knows what I mean.
They never say zombie in the show, though.
They don't, yeah, because they say zombie early on in the graphic novels. They call them zombies. They stopped doing that after a little while. I think there was a point where Robert Kirkman? Kirkman. Whatever his first name is, I don't remember. The writer eventually decided, I feel like some of this wouldn't work quite as well if everyone knew what a zombie was beforehand. So they're going to stop calling them zombies.
Because it's more complicated than just the zombie.
Yeah, there's people.
Trope.
There's people and stuff. So
there's runners. There's walkers.
There are all of the zombies in both the graphic novel and the show are all Romero slow ass zombies. There's no running zombies. They kind of get up to like a very shitty jog in The Walking Dead on occasion, but they're all slow Romero zombies. You don't have 28 Days Later sprinters or anything like that.
Right, I guess you don't, do you? Yeah.
Or like Left 4 Dead, same sort of deal where they're very fast. They're all quite slow in The Walking Dead. But yeah, we went on another tangent.
Another tangent.
Ladies and gentlemen, another tangent with Kale and OJ. So what was your favorite song? We already talked briefly about what my favorite song was.
I do love that the Sam song.
Pink Lemonade.
Pink Lemonade is the name of the song. In Winter, I think, is possibly the one that haunts me the most, but that's got the most singing in it.
Yeah,
that's like track 3, I think.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I also love Run Like Hell.
There was one that had a very popular music video. I'm trying to remember what it was.
I think that was Run Like Hell.
Might have been.
Some sort of a thing flying over us right now.
An aeroplane of some kind. I was just like, what is that rumbling noise that I hear? This is unsettling me.
Oh, that reminds me. I found something out about myself this week.
What'd you find out?
That it's not normal for someone, or not necessarily always a thing a person can do, that is to consciously stretch their tympanic membrane.
In your ears?
In my ears, yeah.
You can do that on command, where you sort of stretch, and it vibrates on its own,
and
right?
It makes a rumbling like that. It makes a rumbling inside my head. You can hear it.
I feel I don't think I.
You have to kind of close your eyes to do it, and I can actually.
I think I can kind of do it, not very well.
Yeah, I've been doing it all my life.
Interesting.
Yeah,
neat. I think didn't you also find out this week, or at least in the aftermath of getting your Fitbit, that you probably have tachycardia?
Yeah, I found that out as well. I need to talk to my doctor about that.
You have, your heart rate is not healthy.
No. Well, like today, just standing there talking, I look down, I'm at 120 beats per minute.
Yeah, that's not good, bro.
I was not exercising.
Bad.
Yeah.
I don't know what my heart rate is, but I feel like it's fairly low. Except maybe if I'm feeling particularly anxious about something, but generally I feel like I am so low energy all the time that it's got to be pretty slow, right?
I'm like a small mammal. I'm a marmot.
Yeah, you're like a vole.
Yeah.
Or a shrew or something. Like you that heart rate is not
just too high. Yeah, it's probably going to kill me. I
mean,
I looked it up. I give a 45% higher chance of just dying.
Just having a heart attack.
Yeah. My blood pressure is great. It's like was it 120/75 last time I got it checked. Blood pressure is fine.
People's bodies are weird sometimes.
Yeah.
You can just have one thing that's like really weird about you. One of the founders of the company Rooster Teeth, he is known to drink a lot, especially in the earlier days of the company. He would drink a lot, and he went to the doctor one time, got some blood work done, and specifically it was concerning his liver. And his doctor knew how much Gus drank.
Sure.
And came in and said, Gus, you have the liver of a 12-year-old boy. I don't know how that's fucking possible.
Yeah.
So Gus went home and promptly got plastered.
Sure.
In celebration of having
Yay, I was super lizard. Lizard? Liver.
Super lizard. I am super lizard. I control the government.
Why does he have a robot voice?
Because he's also a robot.
He's a robot. He's a super robo lizard.
Super robo alien lizard. They're all coming together, OJ. They're all coming together. They're all responsible.
Sure.
For our current predicament.
Any moment, Xenu will show up.
Wouldn't that be the kicker? Wouldn't that be if you get to you die, you find out there's some kind of afterlife, and then you find out that the Scientologists were right all along. Out of everybody, it was the Scientologists who were right.
I can imagine moments after you die going, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
You gotta be. Are you serious? I would have been fine with anything else.
Yeah.
I would have taken the Mormons over this because I get to live on my own planet. Or I wouldn't, because I'd go to hell because I'm not Mormon. So because that's how that works. But
right,
I would have taken hell over this. I would have taken Christian hell.
Because as far as I know, most of the people I like are going to be there.
Yeah, it's possible.
Sure.
Depends on your interpretation of the New Testament, I guess, but that's a long conversation.
Sure it is.
And if it's the Norse who are right, I'm screwed because I'm definitely not going to die in battle.
Not that you know of.
Not that I'm probably not going to die in battle.
That would be really weird.
Who am I going to fight?
I don't know.
Do you go to Valhalla if an animal kills you?
I don't know. What if you're battling the animal?
You were doing battle with the animal.
Sure.
Like if you got attacked by a bear and you're fighting the bear and you die, you could probably that's badass.
Sure.
Odin and or Freya would probably be like, "Fuck yeah,
I get killed by a bear."
You get to go to Valhalla, or you get to go to Freya's place.
Sure.
I don't remember what Freya's place is called.
I can't remember.
It's like Folksgarden or something like that is what it's called, where it's basically a big forest where you hang out and still fight and kill each other because it's Norse mythology.
And that goes on forever.
That's the ultimate, that's their ultimate ideal of heaven, is that we get to kill each other every day and then we get to be friends and hang out and eat. Except instead of in a big hall, now you're in a cool-ass forest.
Sure.
There's hot ladies or something. I don't know. Norse mythology's neat.
Yeah, it is. It's fun.
There's some real silly stuff in there, and there's some real cool stuff. Oh, boy. So this has been a tangent-filled episode, but I mean, it's kind of a smaller, lesser-known band. I say lesser-known. They sold 600,000 records. They were very popular at one time, but they've kind of faded from public consciousness and I think from the zeitgeist of metal itself.
Sure. They're still putting out stuff.
Yeah, they're still working and still touring, but I hadn't heard of them.
That's what I would love. I would love that.
If I could be a member of a working band.
Yeah. Do you get recognized at the grocery store? Never. But that night, are you going to play for 2,000 people?
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's not the biggest crowd, but it ain't the smallest neither.
Right.
That would be a decent life. I think.
Played a whole show for 2 people before.
What's the biggest show you ever played?
I don't know. I don't know. I think the biggest show we've ever played.
Ballpark it.
I don't know, probably 500 people, I guess.
That's not bad.
500 more. It was at the Flickertail.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad.
Then. And it wasn't with Dredge Can.
It was not with Dredge Can.
No, it was with what the hell's the name
of
the band?
Were you filling in, or were you a member of this band?
I was technically made a member. We were all made members of the band, but it was one dude who recorded an album in Chicago, and he moved back home, and he says, I want to play this music for people who would enjoy it. And so he called a lot of people who he knew, say, hey, I know you could do this and you would enjoy doing it.
Music's already written. You just got to learn it.
Yeah. And so that's what we did. It took a week.
That's an easy time.
Yeah, it was an easy time.
I mean, you're missing some of the creative outlet, but hey, you got something to play, and
yeah, it was great.
Go ahead.
It was fun.
There we go. That's a good time.
And what was really fun is when he came back from Chicago. Now, when I knew him when we were like teenagers, he was very straight edge, vegan. Just one of those kind of people.
Yeah.
Didn't no meat and not even smoking, nothing like that.
He had the double whammy of not fun at parties.
Yeah. When he came back, things changed a bit.
Changed a little bit.
He was still a vegan, but he was high all the time for a while.
Well,
there.
I mean, there are different interpretations of straight edge. What was he high on?
Weed.
Was it weed?
Yeah.
I've heard a fair amount of people, not in person, but like people talking about people who consider themselves straight edge, but they smoke weed. And I think
I'm a vegan, but I eat pork.
I think the excuse is that weed is a plant.
Sure, it's natural.
It's not a synthetic drug. It's not something somebody cooked up in a lab.
Right. That's something made in a still.
Yeah, I think that's the excuse that people use. But I think like vegan, there are different grades of veganism, and there are different grades of straight edge. And if you're both, boy, you're making things real hard for yourself, aren't you?
Especially in Minot.
Yeah, especially in North Dakota, the land of meat and potatoes.
Meat, potatoes, and drinking.
Meat, potatoes, alcohol, and meth.
Yeah.
Welcome
to North Dakota.
Welcome to the northern Midwest. It's just the whole northern Midwest. Like I feel like every state that is not like, on the coasts, I think every interior state claims to be the meth capital of somewhere. That's something I've learned, like in college, meeting people from other states, just talking about like, oh, we have a big real meth problem. We are a real big meth problem here. We got a real big meth problem there. Blah blah blah. It's like, oh, I think people are just doing a lot of meth all across the interior of the U.S.
Sure.
And I think it's just maybe just a real big problem. And heroin and shit like that too.
Wow, you know what occurs to me? I think the last time I did meth, I was listening to Kitty.
Well,
yeah.
Well, OJ, have I got a surprise for you? Because we're bringing this full circle.
You got some tinfoil?
Get your crack pipe out. We can do this Jesse Pinkman style, because he always had that glass pipe.
Sure.
Which I guess is probably an accurate way to do meth.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. Everything I know about how to do meth, I learned from Breaking Bad.
Sure.
So
it's better if you just put it on like a creased tinfoil and put a lighter under it, and then have a tube.
Okay.
And then inhale the vapors through the tube.
You've lived an interesting life.
I've only done it twice.
You weren't fond of it too.
I was not, because I don't like. It's funny, like during the day, I'll realize at what point I've had too much coffee, and I'm like, I'm miserable because I've had too much coffee.
Yeah, that happens to me on occasion.
You would hate meth because that
meth
feels like
is just that feeling amplified a million times for 24 hours.
Yeah, it's like, oh, now I'm having a panic attack. Why? Fucking Folgers. Imagine what I was like. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that being very unpleasant.
Yeah.
And it doesn't because I think you've told me some favorable things about cocaine.
Yeah, I did. Well, I did that more than twice. But I stopped doing that for the opposite reason.
Because it was too good.
Yeah, this is great. Keep this shit away from me forever.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna be dead in a gutter.
Somebody stop me. I'm glad you could stop doing coke.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You've had like a comedian's life
Maybe.
in the sense without the like the level of fame or success of some that sounds horrible.
No, you're right. You're not wrong.
But like people like Theo Vaughn or like Mark Maron
Sure.
or like Joey Diaz who've done so much drugs in their life. Or with Mark Maron and Joey Diaz, it's mostly been cocaine.
Sure.
But like, yeah, like I've done a lot of drugs in my time. Eventually, I stopped doing that.
Sure. You know, and one of the biggest reasons I stopped doing drugs is I didn't want to have to go looking for it. I don't want to make that social connection.
I feel like if I were in that situation, that would be the same reason. Because it's just too much of a bother.
I'd like to do drugs, but I don't want to call anyone.
That is the most like
sure.
Like you're a Gen Xer, but that is the most millennial reason to stop doing something. To just to just not want to have to bother with something. So I'm going to stop doing this. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
whereas with booze, it's a great transaction. You go in there, you're there for a minute. You don't have to make eye contact. You just swipe your card, take your six-pack, and leave.
Easy. It's quick. You always know where it's going to be because they have whole stores.
Sure, they do.
Whole stores where you go to get it.
Whole stores where you don't have to pretend to be anybody's friend.
Exactly. It's just a transaction, and when you're done with the transaction, they're not going to ask you to stick around and do some with them.
No, absolutely not.
Unless you're at a bar. But that's what you're there for at the bar.
I don't go to the bar.
Neither do I.
I don't want to do that.
I don't think I've ever gone... Okay, that's not true. I have been the one who has decided to go to a bar.
Sure, me too.
Never alone. But like I... 99% of the times I've ever been to a bar, it has been someone else saying, I'm going to go to the bar. You want to come with? And me going, I guess. Let me put in my earplugs.
You know, there are bars. Still, to this day, there are bars I could walk into alone, and it would be cool because I know 80% of the people in this room.
People are going to go, oh, hey, it's OJ.
My God, we haven't seen him for years.
What are you doing here by yourself, buddy?
I'm not by myself.
You're here.
I'm with you now. Yeah.
I think the only time I've been the one to go like, okay, let's go to a bar was when a friend of mine from high school was in town and he was staying at my place. This was actually the third night I was in this apartment.
Sure.
And the night before I started working at the radio station full time.
Wow. So you came in slightly hungover on your first day?
No, we only got a couple of beers. I took him to the Blue Rider because it was like, well, let's just go get some beers, and I know this bar that's cool and quiet. We walked in on college professor trivia night.
Oh, so Wednesday.
You
were there on a Wednesday.
So it was a little awkward.
Yeah.
We were kind of sitting there just like two young dudes in a room full of, 40 and 50 something college professors just having some beer and not really paying attention to anything else. But that's, I think, the only time I've ever been the one to make the decision about going to a bar. Every other time it has been, you're going to the bar with me. We're going to be social. And me going, I don't want to go outside. The night air, it hurts us. I need only the stalest air to touch my skin.
He pauses to take a drink of beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. This is the life we lead.
This is where we are.
Man. Speaking of where we're at, I had not put enough thought into... we didn't get to metals, sorry. I don't want to jump ahead. I was jumping ahead to what we're talking about next week.
Yeah.
We did not get to metals. So what metal are you bestowing upon this album, like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca?
I'm going to give this one a silver.
I'm also giving it a silver.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, but it wasn't like groundbreaking or anything like that. I thought, this is a fantastic band. But,
yeah. I could, listening to it, I could hear and think of a lot of better places that this sort of sound could go. And I might have to listen to more of their discography and see what they did later on and see how their sound continued to develop, if it did continue to develop, because there's not a lot of albums that we listen to where I listen to it and go like, I think they could, do this next. I think this is where they could go next, or this is how this could be improved, because I'm not a musically literate person. I don't read music. I don't play music. I don't know anything about the actual structure of music in mathematical terms.
You don't really need to.
My understanding of music is the same as my understanding of science, in that I find it very interesting and I like it, but I don't know how to do it. And so generally when I listen to stuff, I'm like, that's the best they could have done with that.
Sure.
But I was listening to this and I could see pathways. Like, this could go here, this could go there. They could have sung this way. So yeah, room to improve, but pretty good for what it is. Especially for like where metal was at in 2001.
Yeah.
Metal was in a weird place in the late 90s and early 2000s. The explosion and heyday of like death metal was kind of over with, and the same goes with like black metal, and like metalcore hadn't taken off yet. Metal was in a weird place in the early 2000s. People were really trying to figure it out. And this was part of that process.
It was.
So next week, I hadn't put a lot of thought into
where we're going next week.
This might be subject to change.
Okay.
But I was... Tentatively. It's not technically a metal band.
Okay.
But it is so metal adjacent, and it's something I've wanted to talk about for such a long time.
We happy to give this a listen.
I think it's time to talk about Heilung's new album, which I believe... I don't actually remember what their new album is called.
It's called Hellblade 2.
That's a video game. No, Heilung's new album that they recorded, and maybe even listen to their live album as well, just because that's an amazing live album.
They're one of those bands that they record it in the studio or they record it live. It sounds like the same thing. They had that same energy.
Their first album that does not sound nearly as good as their live album of a lot of that same material. And there were a couple of songs on the live album that made it onto the new album. The new album sounds amazing. I think when they made their first album, they didn't really quite know what they had on their hands yet.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, their recordings are really popular. And then the show they did for Lifa or whatever, live, it was actually their first live show.
Really?
It sounds that amazing. It's so incredibly well put together. That was their first show in front of a crowd as a band doing that.
Wow.
So we'll talk more about what the deal is with Heilung, because they're very interesting.
They're very interesting. Great to listen to.
They're amazing to listen to and just space out for a little while. There's a lot of history to talk about, both the subject matter, which is historical music, and the personal history of the band members. There's very, very interesting, and they make beautiful, beautiful music.
I wonder what they would sound like on drugs.
Feel like we've already experienced that. Oh
no! If we were
on drugs, depends on what you're doing, because I feel like on depending upon what you're doing and how hallucinogenic it is, you might end up reliving some genetic memories of your ancestors or something.
Wow.
Something like that.
You get better drugs than I do.
It's just DMT or something.
Sure, DMT.
That's something
dimethyltryptamine.
Extremely hallucinogenic. I don't know where to get any of that, and if I did know where to get it, I'd probably be too lazy to do it. We already went over that.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so next week is just Heilung. We'll talk about a specific album, but if you're out there curious about what we're listening to, just give all their stuff a listen. They're
totally
super neat, super cool.
Any of it, and find them on YouTube. Find
their live albums, or they're just the recording. They really well done video recording of that live album as well.
But also buy their stuff. We encourage that.
Or buy their
stuff. We encourage, to support the artists and the record stores and stuff like that.
Because moving all of those spears and shields and costumes ain't cheap.
No. Yeah.
All right. So that's what's coming up next week. We haven't sort of hit social media in a little while. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. You can find us there. And if you're the sort of person that wants to find new episodes on those pages, then there will always be links to new episodes there. Otherwise, I would recommend subscribing to our Libsyn feed or our feed on your Apple device and getting your podcasts that way, because you'll probably be notified when new episodes are available. It seems convenient to me.
It never seems to notify me when you did. I don't know why that is. I have the podcast app.
I think you can. I think there is a specific setting that you have to enable where you say, please send me notifications when this is updated or something like that.
All right.
There might be something like that. Because I know my sister has that set up, or at least I think she does.
Wow. Yeah, because I've got, and of course I'm on the Beef and Dairy Network. But
the Beef and Dairy Network. Yeah. Great podcast. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to end this shit.
Yeah, we got to go.
Thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Browns. What did you do?
Nothing. I accidentally played last week's.
You interrupted our outro.
I didn't mean to do that. Okay. I apologize.
Are you sorry?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Never happen again.
I'm not Matt.
That's a lie. I'm sure. I'm sure I'll fuck things up many times.
I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed.
Thanks, Dad.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.